Let's run it. Hi,
Hi.
I'm here with Maria. You remember her little email about her MFA experiences?
Yes.
Well, how was it?
How was the MFA?
Hmm.
It was awesome. It's a great experience that I have, in my memory, and in my, repertoire going forward. I reference it, as a positive, experience for me, and an opportunity that I took advantage of in stretching myself a little bit further than I was comfortable with. So, and it turned out, it exceeded my expectations. So,
I love that you actually say took advantage of.
yes, yes, because they're out there all the time, and that's what I've mostly learned is that the opportunities are there. It's just a matter of, yes, taking advantage of them.
It is absolutely lovely. I'm going to raise the camera so people don't notice your skirt flapping in the wind.
Okay. Thank you.
It's so adorable. It's so wonderful to sit here and just, we had to be outside.
Yes.
But I was just so thinking of your experience, and when we were talking over coffee, it was just so amazing that you barely, we've talked what maybe 3 different times prior to that,
Right.
or maybe that was the 3rd time at MFA, and you just kind of threw caution to the wind and
Yes.
took off, and it was
Right.
pretty phenomenal.
Well, I think part of it was that I think I was ready to take that step, and open to making a change in my life, doing something different, trying something new, and the meetups came along. You provided an environment that felt comfortable, safe. The interactions with you, with the other people that came, just boosted my confidence, encouraged me to go ahead.
The timing was good.
It was, yes.
The timing was good.
It was just right.
There's something that I lately find more and more challenging. I was actually talking to a friend of mine, her little snafus, and everybody has done this. Guys do this in a much rudimentary form. Women constantly do this. What did he say? What did you say? What did you say then? What did he say? And honestly, to me, I understand this sort of change, and I understand the reasoning for it. If you have no clue, or if you have little clue, you want as much feedback
Yes.
as you can possibly gather. But then this woman is asking me for advice, and she literally goes, "Well, what if I say this?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's not going to work." Okay, but what if I say it's not going to work? Okay, if I say this, and the fun part, what I realized by the end of the conversation was that she doesn't actually see this study of human behavior and human interactions as a science. She literally sees it like apparently so many people, like Barbara. She sees it as black magic, something to be felt, something to be experienced, and I kind of no, she's an attorney, friend of mine,
Right.
and I said to her, what's funny? You're acting exactly the same way as I did when I tried to defend my speeding tickets. Now I knew that the tickets were bogus. I knew I could defend myself, and I knew that if I read a book, I was convinced that if I read a book, I can go in court and defend myself because I was in the right. Yeah, and result didn't really wasn't really that.
Right.
So experience accounts for so much. Crying out loud, you take any attorney fresh out of law school,
Right.
they're failing miserably. They have no clue what it is. They may know written law, have no clue what it is to be an attorney. But the fun part was that she still would look at what I teach as, well, I'm just as good at this. I'm doing pretty much the same thing. And it actually occurred to me that the major intelligence agencies, CIA, NSA, um, they understand there's such a thing as predicting human behavior. I mean, for crying out loud, right now during interrogation, various companies implement face tracking software that will actually tell you if they're lying or not. It's already programmed, but people, for the most part, still look at it as, well, I guess I'm okay, even though they may understand that, well, they're not as good as they can be. And sometimes they do understand that, yeah, they're failing miserably. They still don't see it as, I've seen it with men, with women. As a matter of fact, at MFA, a friend of mine stopped by and said, hey, John, how are you? He goes like, Al, I went to meet a friend of mine and Tom. Tom could use your help. I said, great, Tom, we should talk. Tom said, yeah, sure. Within 5 minutes, his attitude changed to, no, I think I'm okay. Like, you're in an environment full of interesting people.
Right.
Why not have a conversation as opposed to standing there clutching your drink? And Tom's reaction was pretty much, no, I'm good.
Well, and I would question, is that really working for you? So if you're just leaving things up to chance and magic or fate, how well, is that going for everyone? My sense is it's for most people it's not working very well.
Not so much, but they still insist that, well, yeah, we may not know what we're doing, but doesn't mean that you do. And I'm like, okay, great. All it is the fact that human behavior is very much predictable. Psychology was based pretty much on that principle for years and years. So is the study of body language, human behavior, portion of psychiatry, and now intelligence agencies, they no longer rely on human intuition. They no longer rely on field experience. They go, no, here's a piece of software that will tell us with this percentage of certainty, 94, 95, that this person is lying or this person is telling the truth. And people still, in human interaction, they still rely on, well, I'm no expert, but I can't be the worst.
Right. And sometimes you need just someone that's impartial to point things out that they are seeing that you may not recognize within yourself. And I'm thinking specifically about the first meetup that I went to and how I was dressed, my posture, my tone, just everything about just how I sat and presented myself. In my mind, I was professional, exerting competency, confidence, and so forth. And yet, the feedback I got, in a very kind way, but was that, I'm putting people off. I'm not, my body language is not saying, I'm open and I would welcome you to talk with me, or I'm open to interacting with you.
Well, again, you have to remember that the body language is so important when the situation is ambiguous. And you sit there, okay, you're in a group, And did you come here to interact? Did you come here to observe? Did you come here to critique? People don't really know. Did you come here to absorb all of the knowledge and share as much as possible? I was laughing because that's exactly what I was picturing. I was picturing that scarf.
Yes.
It's a gorgeous scarf, that flowery blue and red,
Yes.
the wonderful sky blue. I was picturing that scarf. I'm like, how did she know that I was thinking?
Well, it was a scarf. It was a suit jacket.
But it's the little details.
Yes.
It's the
Yes.
the knee over one knee,
Right.
the hand over
Right. Or
hand.
just just
Precisely.
little things, right? That
then
send a message.
Right, but then again, certain things don't really matter. I mean, if you said there, arms crossed and engaging in a conversation, that the fact that you could be construed completely closed off, it would have gone right out the window because look at yourself at MFA. Gorgeous black dress, black rose, not much jewelry. You can be considered prim and proper.
Yes.
There you come and you say, you did say to those guys, don't jump over the railing.
I did, for your suggestion, because you were like,
Right.
"Go, there's two guys, go talk to them." What do I say? And you gave me a great intro line.
I saw the evil gleam in your eyes and go like, well, you can say, I'm going like, yeah, what? I think I've created something evil. Go for it.
Well, yeah, and I take that experience, just that one little experience is huge for me because I take that and that sort of playful attitude and
Right.
and approach people in general in all of my interactions that way, and the reaction is typically always good. I mean, people smile or laugh or
Of course. I mean, a smile, it doesn't really matter what you look like or, your face, your body. A smile is that disarming weapon that says, hey, I'm non-threatening,
Right.
I'll be your friend, if you give me a
Yes.
chance. Hi.
Right.
If the other person is not willing to reciprocate, you're going to go, well,
That's okay too, right? That's right. Yes.
Next
Right.
person will smile, or if 10 people, and this is, New England is not necessarily the warmest place.
Right.
I mean, I remember being in down south in Florida. Oh dear God, no! Everybody and their mother says hello.
Yes.
And I was in California. People will stop and talk to you for half an hour before they go like, "I'm sorry, did we ever meet?"
Yes.
No, we just stopped and started talking.
Right.
Here in New England, I go like, "Well, why should I stop and talk to you and give me a reason?"
Right, but similar to what you've been saying about certain behavior is predictable. I think there are probably certain characteristics as human beings that that are operate in the same way, that they are predictable. So you smile at someone, what's their reaction going to be? But
No.
I needed to hear that, like it's going to be okay, Maria. You smile at someone in general,
Mm-hmm.
or if you can get through that first layer,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
especially of New Englanders, get through that first surface layer, just beneath, you scratch just a little bit beneath, and it's right there for the taking. So
I think two things contributed so much. The fact that you have very, very advanced ability to learn. It comes from your profession.
well, thank you.
You do. And as long as I show you something, I remember probably the pivotal point at that evening of MFA was you coming over and saying, you know what? Every person I've talked to, I had to start the conversation
Yes.
and say, you know what? What did I say? Do you remember?
No.
Oh, nice, nice. Thanks a lot. I said they're just as terrified.
Well, definitely. I mean, knowing, having that knowledge, and it started from the meetup groups in talking with some of the men that were there, and they expressed exactly that I mean, they literally said, "Do you mean if we came up and said hi, you would actually talk with us?" Of course. I mean, I told you, how many evenings did I go out, dressed up, spent 2 hours getting
Right.
ready, stood up against a wall, waiting, and went home having not spoken to one person. So to hear other men in the group saying, we would love to talk with you, but we're afraid. Just that knowledge and, you reinforcing it and saying, like,
Right.
just do it. And I did that all night long at the MFA. I mean, I spoke to so many men. It was wonderful. I mean, very interesting people. Just amazing. The
And
wealth of opportunity that is there.
I was keeping so much in mind, you and a couple of other people, but then Wayne, apparently he talked to small squadron.
Yes.
He talked to absolutely, and he says, no, I talked to this and that, and
Yeah.
a musician and a professor,
Yeah.
this. I'm like, holy crap, I did create a monster.
Yes. No,
And
the both of us would pass, kind of, and you could we were on fire. I mean, there were like sparks flowing because we'd be like, how's it going? Like, great, how's it going for you? Great. I mean, and we just moved on. Like, you even came up a couple of times and said,
Yeah.
just check in, and I was like, we're doing just fine. And yeah, it was
you
great.
guys were so good. But another part, another criticism that I've been collecting, yeah, you know where it's coming from,
Mhm.
is that starting the initial conversation as opposed to, well, let it happen.
Right.
Let's say I'm at a bar,
Right.
you're at a bar, we bump into each other, oh, hi.
Right.
Or let's say you're sitting at a bar, I walk up and say, oh, hello. That difference, the woman said to me, well, that's cheesy, that's a common, that's you picking up the person. I said, well, the only difference, I didn't actually say anything, to be honest. I walked out of that conversation and that relationship. But personally, I don't know what your view on this is, but personally, my opinion is I'm just taking that little extra step to break the ice. And the last thing I want is to not exercise that opportunity. I don't know if the reception is going to be fantastic. And the last thing I ever want is to be perfect. Yeah, I've heard, oh, you look like Daniel Craig, you look like James Bond. Sure, fine. I don't want to be smooth and debonair like James Bond. I'd love to be, but it puts so much pressure. I don't want to be that great guy. I want to be regular Joe who screws up, every 5 seconds. That makes me real. And I personally couldn't really care less, how the person views me, because I know after 30 seconds of a conversation, they're not really going to remember that I came up to them and said, hi, I'm Al.
But especially as you mentioned here in New England, here in Boston, people are very standoffish, and I think we need those interactions. They don't always have to be of a romantic nature or trying to pick someone up. Just conversing in a social way is valuable for all of us, and I think we all yearn for it, but we just don't do it. We don't take that extra step to smile or say hello or how was your day going today. It would be so welcoming. I think we all would welcome that.
Flirting is so cool.
Yeah.
And then, so many people, quite a few people say, well, what do you teach as a pickup? And they're like, no, pickup, I despise the words, how can you pick somebody up, that it's such a horrible misconception. And to me, pickup is a quickie without any emotion, without any intellect thrown in. Oh, you look good, we're happen to be in the same place. Okay, great. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think of it as a pickup. I think it's just making a connection. To what extent and what level that will progress to is totally up to me to make that decision. But oftentimes just saying hello or talking to someone is a wonderful experience for the day. I value it as just that. And I have a lot of flexibility in my days, so at the end of it, there are times where I've had interactions like that, sometimes of a flirting nature, sometimes just with other women, the clerk at a store.
Right. Well, not pick up
Not a
interactions.
right, exactly. So, and I may have had 5 or 6 of those in my travels. And I sit and smile at the end of the day and say, that was a really nice day. I feel that a connection was made with people, even if it's just a brief one. So those interactions, I think, are very important.
Now, let me ask you something. You know that I'm a little bit more fast as far as starting interactions, being able to guide the conversation. Here's something I heard, that my interactions, let's say I walk into a restaurant. I say hello to everybody, I smile to everybody, I interact with people, I interact with men, women. I call women love, honey, dear, not hun, not sweetie, call something unusual. I touch on the forearm. To me, that's an interaction.
Yes.
Now, I have heard it both ways. And personally, to me, I create a human connection. Doesn't mean I will ever, pursue it in terms of romantic nature. No need to.
Yes.
But I'd much rather have somebody who smiles at me. I'd much rather have a bartender or a waitress who smiles at me, who enjoys her interaction, as opposed to, here's your freaking drink,
right.
Pay the freaking check.
Right.
I went out with my buddy like a few days ago, Thursday or something like that. It was actually Thursday, my birthday was on Wednesday. Thursday I go out. I asked the bartender to make me a drink. Having been a bartender for God knows how many years, it's a very specific drink. I ask her, and she literally gives me that look like, "Don't you dare!" I'm like, "Oh dear God, there's an unhappy person, but you know what? I don't have time in my life for grouches." And then another time, I went out and I was sat at a table. And the girl had so many freckles, the waitress. I talked to her and I interacted with her, and she was smiling every single time she came by the table. And I called her hon, I called her dear, and she loved it.
Yes.
At least from what I could tell.
Right.
If the person is smiling at you, I think she enjoys it.
Right.
But then the argument that I've heard was, oh no, they're just being polite, and you could tell, they're probably hating it, at the most. No, your my interactions are just strictly professional.
Right.
What about when I call you love, dear, hon? How does that feel?
Well, it feels endearing. I mean, I love it. I mean, how do you want to travel through life? Do you want to be grumpy? Or are you a real person,
Right.
I mean, I thrive when I hear, because we get a sense of ourselves many times on how people react to you. So if they're, acting warmly, and I don't take it as anything more than that. They're not, doing crazy things, touching me in ways that are inappropriate.
Hopefully. Right.
It's a smile. It's a touch.
Exactly.
That means
it's
that you're human. I'm human. It's nice to meet you.
Right.
And eye contact. These are I think they're basic skills that many of us, have forgotten to utilize because we, function so quickly and in a professional world.
Please,
but we're real people here.
Please tell the good people who are watching this that we did not rehearse this.
No.
I did not tell you what to say.
No.
This is just your opinion.
It is definitely my opinion.
It's nice. It's nice to be known.
I wish there was more of it out. Maybe you could make that one of your missions is to promote.
I would love it. I try.
Yes.
I try, and
well, the intro email for your meetups was something to the effect about romance being everywhere. I loved that because I didn't particularly take it so much as just a romance between a male and a female, or or a sexual thing. I took it as a way of traveling through life, that the romance can be as you're sharing a meal with someone, and just savoring the flavors and so to me romance is in everything, whether you're washing dishes. It could be even within yourself, pampering yourself with a hot bath, candlelight, whatever. But certainly in every interaction is that opportunity to have romance. It enhances your life. I'm certain it enhances other people's lives as well, and will have an effect as they travel through their day.
Mm-hmm.
I think it makes a huge impact on not just yourself, on others, but even the world in general. You are sending people out with a good experience to proceed through their day.
When you said sharing a meal, I remembered a friend of mine once said, never give people who ask for money, prefer to feed them. I've done it several times, and I remember running through Porter Square. There are a couple of guys sitting there right next to my bank, sitting, just asking for change. I kind of look at them and go, you guys want a bite? And you're like, well, yeah, but, they're very hesitant. And they're like, come on, we're going across the street. I'm going to grab something to eat.
Oh, nice. Very sweet.
I've done that a couple of times. And to see, of course, they walk in there, and they were actually such decent guys. And I'm like, no, something, don't worry, something small. And they're like, no, what do you like? And they're like, well, burgers. And I said, like, each of you is getting a burger. What do you want to drink? And they're like, well, you really want to, it wasn't, McDonald's, so it came like to maybe $10, $15. No, not really much. But to them, this guy is actually taking his time. But for God's sakes, the smile that it put on my face, I had to take a train for, I don't know, like 20, 25 minutes. I'm pretty sure I walked into my client's office still grinning ear to ear because in some way, I just shared a meal with somebody. I just enjoyed my time with them. It was a little human interaction. They introduced themselves to me. They shook my hand. They said, thank you very much. I'm like, hey, it's just maybe a little bit of paying forward, but anyway, think about it like this. And they're like, you know what? There's something good I did for you. Later.
Right. Yes.
And literally the way it makes you feel.
Yes. Yes, I agree totally. And, it reminds me back to the MFA event is, I had a wonderful experience while there. The best experience, though, was leaving and having that glow, that feeling within me, taking my shoes off, finally, just kind of relaxing a bit.
You had to be dancing.
Bouncing down the steps, and then, as is posted on your site,
yes,
my experience thereafter. But I can only imagine that gentleman looked up and thought, oh my God, this woman is just glowing and exuding us just a happiness. And I would love to be able to just travel through my days with that same energy and exude that everywhere I go, again, because I think it will just spread. Not just are you happy, but you're spreading it in every place you go.
And it comes back to you tenfold. You meet somebody who's actually more or less open to that interaction, and all of a sudden you go, holy crap, where have you been? You're such a cool person. I want to talk to you. Doesn't mean I want to spend the rest of my life with you, but I want to talk to you. I want to interact with you. I want to know more about you.
People are going to gravitate to that. Yes.
But then again, people still, when it comes to these interactions, people still believe, in my experience, that I'm okay. the way I function throughout life, I'm doing okay.
Yes.
And I hate to ask, well, how are you, what's your social life like? Well, I'm okay being on my own. Okay, do you want to be on your own? No, not really. No, who wants to be on your
Right.
own? Okay, so
Right.
there's that contradiction, and I think it's just folks not realizing that
Yes.
human behavior is predictable and it's a science and it can easily be cracked
Right.
and it can easily be ascertained. And sometimes, like, people like I have invested so much time trying to figure it out.
Right. Well, I think that what you have provided, especially like even just consistently having your Sunday coffee meetups.
Which you've been missing.
Yes, I know. I am due. But just that alone provides, a place that we can come and pay attention to what you're talking, about. These things that you're bringing up. I mean, I think we get lost sometimes in just our lives and functioning. We're functioning and we're not really aware of our, ourselves, how our life is going. We don't even have time to ask those questions. So to sit and have a cup of coffee and focus, maybe for the first time in months, years, weeks, on these things that are very important to enhancing our life and our happiness. To have a format, a place that we could do that.
I think it all comes down to the fact that no skill, you can't read a book and become an attorney.
Yeah.
You cannot say, well, I want to teach English. I speak English, I want to teach English, and right away become an English teacher. You can't accomplish anything that takes time in a flash. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie with Leonardo DiCaprio, Tom Hanks, Catch Me If You Can.
Yes.
And that scene where the lead character of Leonardo DiCaprio passed the bar. Now, the way he did it, he didn't actually study. He took the bar over and over because Louisiana law allowed for that time. Now, wouldn't it be great if you actually could enter an interaction and, let's say, fail it miserably? Let's say I'm a guy, I enter an interaction with a woman, and I fail it miserably. I hear, well, screw you, go away, don't ever want to. Like, okay, cool. Reset. Again. Hi. From the very first standpoint, from ground zero. Like, and knowing what, I said that, she didn't like that, and this is where she got mad. Being able to analyze that. But the difference is that so very often, now more skilled people, I am tapping my chest, are able to actually look at one interaction, see where I've screwed up, and apply that experience onto the next interaction. But a lot of the times people go, well, I've screwed up. No, it wasn't me. It had to be that person.
Well, definitely. And, I think of the movie Groundhog Day is the one that I'm referencing.
Oh, I love it.
I love it. So, but having you there, these sound like simple concepts that, okay, you want to interact with someone, just go over and say hi. Well, that sounds simple enough, but for someone like myself that doesn't have that reference or experience, or was too afraid to take that step, it was a huge leap to have you there, just go. And I knew that someone was like watching my back, like, cheering me on, and that if worst case scenario, if they looked at me and said, please go away, leave us alone, I would crawl back. Okay, Al, thanks a lot. And, we would move on from there. But
see, you're lucky you were wearing heels. Otherwise, I would have actually shoved you.
So it was a huge help. But you're right. Even if it was even a negative experience, taking that step, it still would have given, to know that I survived. Like if they had said, sorry, we're talking here, you're interrupting us. I would have walked away, walked back to you, but I would have also had that reference that, I'm still here.
Mhm.
There are other people here I could talk to.
Mhm.
And, life is going to be okay.
Right. One person, 10 people, 100 people do not determine what I want out of life or how I want to go about my life. Well, maybe I'm exaggerating. 100 people, yeah, possibly. If the 100 experiences are exactly alike. But then again, and this is what I keep saying, Shakespeare, Lord Byron, all the poets of 19th, 18th century, they could not have been writing about these spectacular romantic experiences at the same time. Now, personally, to me, I can quantify it in one of two ways. They were either all on drugs, or they were actually right. They actually experienced those feelings. And I think the times that we live in kind of taken away from the human interaction.
They don't foster it, definitely.
Not at all. I mean, I scream when I try to think of, going out, going to the house next door, and knocking on the door, going like, "Hey, can Johnny come out and play?" People go like, "Oh, no, let me text."
Right.
Cool. So you don't even want to hear human voice.
Right.
The emotional human voice, the gladness that people go, "Oh, I'm actually happy." The happiness that people are glad to hear from you.
Right.
I call my mother not because, well, yeah, I do miss my mom, but not because I want to talk to her forever, because I want to hear her voice. I call my grandmother, and talking with my grandmother is difficult because of her hearing aids, but I love hearing her voice. I love hearing how glad she is to hear.
Right.
To hear my voice.
And in text, that's not relayed.
Right, text.
Yes. Well, I experience it with my children too, because they'll say, well, what time are we picking, Sally up, and
Mhm.
what's going on, or what are the plans? Well, I don't know. I texted her, I haven't heard back. Why don't you just pick up the phone? Oh no, Mom, we can't do that. So it's a little frightening, because and then I've had conversations with people that the tone of what I'm saying doesn't get relayed. It can be misunderstood. So, yeah.
But the fun part is that standardized interaction takes so much away of our ability to interact in
Yes.
person. And of course, people walk into social situations, and that's another thing I want to talk about. Walk into social situations and they don't know how to react. They run to their default mode of interaction. Oh, cell phone, email. I remember, breaking out, a piece of paper and a pen, and people look at me like, "Is that a magic act?
Yeah.
What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm writing my phone number down." Huh?
Right.
But then again, the social situations. Well, that's another favorite of mine. To me, any interaction, it's a social interaction. Now, granted, some environments are not really very conducive for having a conversation. Work, for example. Work is work. Your employer may look a little not favorably on, people just chatting. Oh, water cooler when the employer is paying you to actually do work. God knows. Let's say some places, the post office, the DMV, even though I've had some really fun interactions at DMV. When you're looking around and going like, why is everybody so sour?
Right.
You know that by the time you're going to get to the window, and the old person's going to say, oh, you missed that and that form. You're going to go, oh, okay, cool.
Right.
Got to go back in the line. You know what's going to happen. Why would you be upset about it?
Right.
But then, Barbara has said so many times that, oh, you're going out to meat markets, bars, clubs, social events, the Boston Harbor Hotel. It's a meat market. And you're like, how on earth is that a meat market if it is, that's where people congregate.
Right.
That's where people gather.
I agree. I mean, I
It's a
think it's the
social
term that is a little harsh. So a meat market has a connotation of something very negative.
Right.
But it people are searching for where can I connect with other people,
Yeah.
and they are willingly saying they're putting themselves in an environment where that's what they're supposed to be doing or they want to be doing. I mean, what do you if you're sitting at home and you're thinking, well, what can I do? It's Friday night. I mean, I could go stand in the grocery store, but I can do that on Wednesday night. So there's a place for that. But if there's a place where someone says, hey, there are people gathering that want to socialize,
Mm-hmm.
that want, just an interaction. I think
Right.
It's a great opportunity to put yourself there too. Why not?
Right. Whatever the excuse is, whether it's music, whether it's art gallery, or for crying out loud, bar.
Right.
People walk in a bar, have a drink,
Right.
socialize.
And you have a choice. I mean, I am not going there without, I'm not being forced to be there, and I'm not being forced to stay or experience something that I'm uncomfortable with. So I always am, able to say I'm not getting a good feeling with this person, or I'm not enjoying this experience. There's a door. I can find another experience. So you don't have to. If you're uncomfortable with it,
Right. This society is such that women always have the last say. Except for a four-letter word, which I think should be punishable by firing squad, but that's just me. And that what actually struck me so surprising about your after the MFA experience, that you called me and said, how do I keep this wonderful person a friend? Because he's a wonderful person. I had spectacular time with him, and he's still a friend.
He is. We've conversed on the phone, we've texted, and we've met for coffee.
Good.
Yes.
Good. And I told you, you owe him a little more than a coffee. You have to take him out.
Right.
Well, not pay, but
yes,
you have to invite him out.
Yes.
And the beauty of that was that you simply enjoyed the experience. You enjoyed the interaction.
It
wasn't that, oh my God, this is it. This is the most amazing experience of my life, and I have to hold on to this person because I will not see, this is it. Let's go run away, get married, or at least definitely jump in bed.
Right.
No.
Yes.
It is what it is. It's wonderful flirting, spectacular setting. It's just an enjoyable.
And enjoying the other person, their company.
Yes.
I am enjoying that, or that experience just made me want to open myself up.
It forces you to smile every time you think
Yes, and and I've met other people since then that I'm having the same type of experience, just loving their company. I get calls during the day, or text or something, or just how's your day going. It's enhanced my life so much because I just even a hello. It's how was your day, Maria? Just thinking of you, just wanted to let you know. Just something small like that is just so wonderful, for my day. And I do the same. I reciprocate and just say, just wanted to let you know, I was thinking about you today. I know you have a meeting today. How did it go?
That is so very much important. That is something I ran into, in my previous relationship, when I would actually go out of my way, do something absolutely selfless. And perhaps maybe get a thank you at the end of it. Maybe. Not, I think the timing of gratitude is so very important. Knowing when to say thanks. And it doesn't have to be, oh dear God, I'm so thrilled that you're here. How can I express my feelings? Yeah.
Right.
It's sugar syrup and all kinds of crap. That's,
right.
Baby talk if I ever heard one, but just saying, thank you.
Right.
Timely, as opposed to having the other person kind of go, okay, yeah, I know I did a selfless thing, and I wasn't really expecting anything for it, but it would be so nice to actually hear thank you or to hear some kind of appreciation as opposed to waiting, 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 just not getting it. No, thank you. No matter how heartfelt that gratitude is, as it comes past the, when it misses its time, when it
Right.
misses that timing mark, it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel the same. And
Well, a lot of what you're talking about are just like social skills
mm,
that I think we're, unfortunately lacking or not paying attention to.
yeah,
And again, I think that's the beauty of your meetups is that it
come to my meetups.
it refocuses you on what is important in life: people, interactions, communicating,
Yeah.
paying attention to this part of your life. It's important. It will enhance your life in many ways. Not even, it will transcend into your professional life, into your family. You know,
I just got this feeling. Now, tell me if I'm right. This has had a little, but a little bit of an effect on your interaction with your kids.
in not just my kids, my family, just in
I know that sometimes I'm right.
yes.
I'm still always surprised that I'm right,
Yes,
but
what they're seeing is, and they, I'm very open with my children, so they do
uh-huh,
know what's going on in my life at all
yeah,
times, pretty much. They're young adults, late teens, so they're old enough to, to know. But they've seen a difference, whereas, previously I would be focused on one relationship and all that entailed, and that was my life.
mm,
I invested everything into that one relationship.
mm,
Now I sort of flow through life, and um,
float,
yes,
glide.
yes, and they're observing that, and they're, like I said, they're seeing phone calls coming in,
Mm,
or my interaction when we go out to the stores. Connecting with people on a deeper level, or at least at any level, acknowledging the cashier, or making a comment, gee, I like that color, that shirt, or whatever,
mm,
something,
yeah,
a personal comment.
right.
They smile, you can see you've made their day. So they're observing their mom very differently, a lot more. I think they would say to you that she's a lot more relaxed, a lot more open, and smiling a lot more. So yeah, but
That's good.
that makes sense that it's affecting everyone I
That's
touch,
lovely.
is
That's right.
affected. That's why I think it does, transcend to all aspects of your life. But just to start to pay attention to these issues, these interactions, these relationships,
Mm.
is important.
To begin to recognize the opportunities, to begin to
Yeah,
know that opportunities are there, to begin to recognize where the opportunities are, to begin to know how to take advantage,
right,
what to do in this situation, how to communicate,
right,
and still knowing that you're in charge of your interactions, your decisions, be it a man or a woman. You don't have to chase the bus, so to speak,
right,
clinging on to that one particular interaction, going, no, 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 I can
right,
make it better.
exactly. And it enhances. I mean, my thought is, I'm making friendships wherever I go.
Mhm.
From them, something more may evolve, but it has come from a foundation of a friendship, a real, caring from the heart, a sincerity, um, that I think sometimes, was, well, I think definitely was not there in the past. It was immediately, this is going to be a romantic. These are my expectations. This is what I want from you. This is what I, need to get back. It was just
Checks
weighed,
and balances.
yes, and it was weighted down. I mean, there's no chance that it would really succeed, I think,
Right.
in retrospect.
Hmm.
So to just approach, everyone, all my interactions in a lighthearted way,
And being able, and even if you do begin to feel a certain way about a person, allowing them to be themselves and lifting that burden from them,
yes,
that's probably the biggest blame I got in my past relationship. That, yeah, I fell madly in love with a person, and she constantly harked at me. Well, it put so much pressure. I said, I don't expect you, nor do I demand. No, well, I don't demand, nor do I expect you to feel the same way as I do. What I feel is what I feel, and all I want is an interaction. I want your time. Yeah, I want that thank you on time. I want the acknowledgement.
mm,
To me, that's what my buddy does. That's what my friends do. When I call, I don't know if you met my buddy Chris, my camera guy. I call him up. I haven't heard from him in weeks. I said, "Where the hell are you? You're so and so. And let him have it." I was like, "Oh, dude, no, sorry, brother. Been busy." Okay, done. It's that acknowledgement of, "Hey, screwed up.
right,
or we're out. I'll buy the guy a drink." And it was, "Oh, thanks." You know, or whatever the interaction is, the timing of that appreciation is so very important. So that's one aspect. And what I experienced in that relationship was, yeah, I saw the person in one fashion and she didn't feel the same way. Okay,
right,
and why? How is that a problem? How is that the very same your interaction after MFA? That guy looked at you and you spent, oh my God, how many hours did you
mm-hmm,
spend? Exactly.
right,
And he had, I can perfectly understand being a guy and knowing what I know, knowing quite a great deal about the human interactions, human behavior. I know what he felt. He was very much looking towards spending some intimate time with you, as well as possibly continuing the relationship.
right,
The fact that you acknowledged it, the fact that you presented it in such a way that I understand how you feel.
yes,
I don't feel the same way, and I hope you won't burden me
right,
with that fact that you feel that way and I don't. I like you one way or another, and I want to keep you in my life,
yes,
and I want to stay. I want to stay close to you. I want to be in that
right.
interaction with you. Now, let me ask you just a wild question. What if you were to engage in sexual relations with that? You know, should we mention him? Should we leave him? No, well, people don't know
Right,
John,
right.
but let's say he fell for you. Would you feel burdened by his affection? Or would you simply say, you know what, I just enjoy my time with that person. I am not feeling the same as he does, but I see no reason to say, you know what, you're in love with me, I'm not, we're not on the same plane. We're not in the same, women love
Yes,
saying this. We're not on the same level or
right.
whatever else. Would you actually say something like that, or would you let him be? Would you let him be?
Well, I mean, I think there's a lot of value still there with the person. So I think I would be honest to express that, I would love to still have interactions, still enjoy their company, and that I think we can enjoy ourselves together without, having to take it.
Having to put the ring on
Right.
this finger, tom tom.
Yes.
Right.
Right. I think there's a lot of value there, and there's my argument sort of would be, there's so many of us alone out here. So would you deny having a great experience with someone?
Exactly. It's all about human interaction.
Right.
Well, on that note, Doreen is
It
cutting us
is.
short, so see you next time.